Hey there. Are you tired of waiting for the next episode of It's Probably Not Aliens? Well, we've got some good news for you. On Nebula, our streaming service, you can get access to all our episodes a week early. That's right, you'll never have to wait again to hear Scott and I debunk the latest ancient astronaut theory or get a movie fact wrong. But that's not all. Nebula is home to dozens of content creators we know you like, so you can find all your favorites in one place. Plus, we post content on there that you won't find anywhere else. And the best part? By signing up for Nebula at nebula.tv/probablyNotAliens, you're directly supporting the show and both of us. So don't wait any longer. Join Nebula today and listen to the next episode right after this one.
This is an emergency alert. Tristan, are you there? This is an emergency alert. This is not Professor Xavier. This is a different thing.
Oh my god. So many people talk in my head. It's getting hard to keep it all in track.
This is not in your head. This is just me. This is Scott out loud to you using a megaphone.
Are you always in my head? Is it just like, okay.
You have headphones on. That's all that's happening.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
This is a different bit. This is a different bit.
Okay. Yeah. So, why do you sound like you're on old-timey radio?
It's a megaphone, as I've explained. I'll put it down now.
Tristan, hello, it's me, Scott, using my normal voice.
Yo, I think I just heard Professor Xavier talking to me.
Nope, it was a different thing. It wasn't that at all. We have very original ideas here. We don't repeat bits. This is a new thing. It was just me with a megaphone to tell you that for once... Well, I guess I've done this before, but in a rare twist of events... For twice, or maybe thrice now, in a rare twist of events, I, Scott, the host that typically knows nothing, am now the one that knows something.
You know lots of things.
All right, but I know something about the topic that we're talking about. Well, okay. Not really. So,
Scott read an article, news section on the show.
Scott read an article. Scott read the news.
Scott's reading corner.
So a couple episodes ago, I don't know how long ago, but in a previous episode of this podcast, you explained to me about this thing called the Band of Holes in Peru, I believe. Yes?
Mm-hmm. I think so, yeah.
And we talked about it. It's just like a lot of divots in the ground that run for, I feel like miles. I can't remember.
A lot of them,
but
lots of holes.
It's lots of holes, like the movie Holes. If you've seen Holes, there are holes in the ground. And people are like, what was it for? What was the purpose of it? And it's still kind of a mystery that we don't know. But I'm here to tell you that I figured it out and by that I mean that I read an article that may have figured it out. But I will take credit for it.
You got to the bottom of it.
I got to the bottom of this hole, which previously people thought was an impossible oxymoronic thing to do. You can't get to the bottom of a hole, you just make the hole deeper. But I got there, all right? This comes from a National Geographic article written by J.L. Bongers. Thanks for making some bangers, Bongers. Appreciate it. In our episode, we talked about maybe it was a tax thing or it had to do with some sort of taxation. Or, a couple other things. But one that we didn't touch on is what this article here purports, which is that maybe the Band of Holes was an ancient market. And if you will permit me, I will read a little bit of this article, which I believe is potentially paywalled. So if you're not paying National Geographic for this, please cover your ears. I don't want to get in trouble. All right, Tristan, are you?
Okay, I'm not. Okay, I'm going to put my fingers on my ears because I haven't paid my subscription to National Geographic.
It's going to be hard to have a conversation about it if you're not hearing me. So just don't tell anyone. Okay. All right, just don't tell anyone.
It's a secret between you and me and the people.
Yeah, no one rat on us. No one snitch. All right. Isn't it National Geographic owned by Disney? They're fine. They're fine.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. This comes from the article. I just want to read a couple paragraphs. In the holes, the team of researchers found tiny traces of maize and wild plants traditionally used for making baskets. That suggests people had lined the holes with plant material and deposited goods inside them. I think we talked about this in the episode that we did, while using baskets or bundles to transport the goods. On top of that, the band of holes is also located near a nexus of ancient roadways between the coast and the Andean highways, making it, quote, a good candidate for a barter marketplace. Bongers notes, a logical spot for different groups and specialized merchants to meet and exchange goods. Large numbers of people depositing goods in the holes could have been a way of publicly displaying information about the quantity of goods available, as well as the quantity of goods required for a fair exchange, he explains. For example, a certain number of holes containing maize would have been equivalent to a certain number of holes containing another type of good, such as cotton or cocoa. Isn't that a cool idea?
Yeah, so it's like a rate of exchange system.
It's a visual exchange rate. It's like put in the amount of holes that you fill. Like if maize takes up 12 holes, then what did they say? Cocoa here would take up maybe 5 holes, and then that is how you know that if you want 5 of that, you have to do 12 of the other, or whatever I said. That is such a cool idea, like a visual representation of an exchange between goods and products. I think that's such a cool idea.
It does sound pretty good.
Yeah. And the article goes on and to point out some other evidence and things like that, but I don't want to read the whole article. I just thought this was a fascinating perspective theory that seems to be one of the leading ones, at least as of right now. November 10th was when the article came out, 2025. So I just wanted to do a little follow-up because I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah, that is cool. That and that speaks to like the sort of builds into that sort of idea of the Inca as having like a lot of statecraft, empire building, things like that don't really get it. You know what? By sheer coincidence, Scott, this actually happens to be very relevant to the topic of the episode we're recording right now.
Oh.
So like just sheer serendipity.
That's pretty cool. Didn't realize we were recording an episode, but I guess that makes sense. Hi, everyone. This is a podcast that you're listening to. This is a podcast called It's Probably Not Aliens, where we look into ancient astronaut theory and the TV show Ancient Aliens and pseudoscience, pseudoarchaeology, all that stuff. And we sort of, we approach it with maybe a little skeptical eye and try and use it to teach you about real-world history of cool people and places and cultures. And, usually this is the point where I say, my name is Scott and I know nothing, but I think we've proven I know how to read. I know how to read one article. So I think I'm doing pretty good.
We're going to have a new segment that's be Scott's Reading Corner. It'll be like Wishbone, where you...
Yeah. I'd love it.
Yeah,
I'll dress up as all the different things that I'm talking. I'll dress up as holes for this one. The way that Wishbone does.
Yeah. My name is Tristan Johnson, and I am the one who gets mucky in the words to try and figure out what the hell ancient aliens just tried to say to us, and then figure out what's actually going on. So Scott, I want to start this one with a photo, because we're doing this is we're like halfway through now our season on structures.
Oh, say it isn't so. This has been a fun one.
Yeah, we just got off of our 2-part Göbekli Tepe thing. And so this is the next one on the list of things that were mentioned. And we actually, before the show started, had a very fun back and forth where we tried to figure out how to pronounce this site without saying sexy woman.
Do you want me to play the video on YouTube that I found?
Yeah, we found the world's most beautiful voice try to describe.
I love this guy. This is from the channel Julian Michael. has 1.99 million subscribers. Guys, go over there, get him up to 2. Get him up to 2 million. It's so close, right? This is the first time I'm seeing this channel, so I actually have no idea. I can't vouch for anything except for
The
this
next
one
video is like, here's how do you pronounce why vaccines are bad. It's like, no!
Yeah.
We just thought you said Sacsayhuamán really well.
Here's how you protest woke people. Oh no, Julian!
Julian, no!
Julian, no! All right, this is from
hedgehog.
Julian Michael. How to pronounce the place that we're going to talk about today.
You are looking at Julian's pronunciation guide, where we look at how to pronounce better some of the most mispronounced words in the world, like this other curious word. But how do you say what you're looking for?
You don't even, Tristan, you can't see this. When he's saying we're trying to pronounce words like this other curious word, the word he has on the screen is croissant. So
This guy does sound very French.
This guy's great, and I like him a lot. All right, let's continue.
Today, name pronunciation from Peru or Peru. Sacsayhuamán. Sacsayhuamán.
Sacsayhuamán. Sacsayhuamán. Thank you, Julian.
He almost sounds like he's trying to do a
Sacsayhuamán.
Borat voice. He's trying to say sexy woman with a Borat voice.
My wife, Sacsayhuamán.
Now, I denounce and reject all those things that I just said. This is obviously some Quechua words.
Wait, yes, also
Quechua
me
is a
too.
difficult. Yeah. So that's what we're talking about. Sacsayhuamán.
This was Tristan. This was the thing. We're over here making jokes about Julian being canceled or whatever, but it was us the whole time.
Yeah, we are the bad
Julian
ones.
didn't make a joke about Sacsayhuamán.
He was very
Only
to the
we
point.
did.
He was just like, here's how you pronounce a word.
Ugh.
Can you imagine having a mandate, like 2 million subscribers on just be really good at pronouncing words. Man, that's a niche.
Oh, yeah.
That is such a good niche.
Very good one.
But Sacsayhuamán is not just a Digimon, but is
we gotta stop. We gotta stop.
okay. It is a profoundly interesting looking thing in Peru. So I should probably have actually shared the notes with you, but you can see it. Seems like you found it.
I can see it. I got the notes. Yeah.
Okay. So take a look. It's the big picture right at the top.
Yeah. I've got 2 of them here. This is your classic Ancient Aliens thing that they would obsess over. This is a big
rock
structure. Looks like a wall. Looks like I have a soundbite. Yeah. It looks like a wall of rock, a wall of giant stone, all that fit together so perfectly. They almost look like they are like welded together in a way. Like all the corners are so smooth and everything. But the rocks are so big, Tristan. It just makes me wonder.
How do you move it?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you move those big rock?
People have described this site as looking like the rocks are partially molten, if they were melted into place or softened.
Oh, so it wasn't just me. Okay, yes, it does look like that, genuinely.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Sacsayhuamán today. It is actually pretty close to a pretty reasonably. This is everything. Every time I talk about Peru, you're like, it's near this town that also happens to be at 12,000 feet of elevation.
Yeah, very high.
Yeah. It's located outside of the city of Cusco, which is in Peru, or Peru, as Julian would say. And it is this weird zigzagging group of ramparts that are made up of limestone blocks. Very big, big limestone blocks. The largest stones are as much as 200 tons, or in American, 400,000 pounds.
That is so much.
How do you move it?
As so much. How do you move it?
How do you move it?
These stones also have one very particular interesting thing about their construction. As you mentioned, they're tightly packed together. There's no mortar. These stones are just fit perfectly. And on top of that, they also have earthquake resistance. There's earthquakes in this region, and this has not collapsed due to earthquakes.
What are they, like rebar going through those?
I don't know. It was built in the 15th century, so 1400s. shortly before European arrival. And it took about 50 to 90 years to build. And the thing is that it is true, as I wrote here, that your eyes, when you look at it, aren't lying to you, that these actually do look like the stones have been melted and molded like they were made of putty.
Yeah. If I can tell you, it doesn't look like separate stones. It looks like one enormous stone that someone like slightly like that someone like carved lines into to make it look like it was all separate stones. But like that's how perfectly they fit together.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And so like, yeah, that is like, it does look like something that is impossible. Like it looks like something that maybe today we could do with like really advanced equipment, but not something that like anybody would be able to do at that time. Like it looks crazy.
It looks impressive. 100%. Yeah.
And so, yeah, like I said, there's like these precision joints. There's these complex interlocking shapes. And also there's just all the corners are rounded. It's nice and beveled.
I think that's the thing that's getting me is that's why it looks like soft molded putty, you know, is everything is so rounded and gentle. Like all the curves and corners are so gentle. I think that's sort of what's getting me to make it look like it almost just doesn't look like it's stone.
Mm-hmm. Now, so it is pretty amazing. The question though is what you do with that amazement. It's amazing to the point where like there was a movie that came out in 2021 or 2022. I didn't even know this was a movie that exists, but it is called Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, which in researching this I found out was the 7th Transformers movie. And
that's too many.
I did not even
had enough.
I think I've seen one, and I don't think I've seen and it was bad, so I didn't watch the other ones. They're doing Beast Wars now.
Yeah, I've seen the first 3, and they were fine. The first one I thought was good, and the third one was fine, and the second one was bad. And then I didn't watch anything past that because I think Mark Wahlberg took over. And then in the fourth one, there was like a running plot thread where his daughter was a minor, but dating someone older, like dating an adult. And then the guy would always carry around some sort of card in his wallet that it was like a law that proved that it was actually legal for him to sleep with a minor. And I'm like, this is a weird thing to put in a Transformers movie. Why are you doing that?
Yeah, that was not required. Okay. Interesting. There's also like, this is a common thing that comes up on TikTok and Instagram with like, how do you explain it? How do you move it? And this is the first time we've talked about it on talking about Ancient Aliens, but Ancient Aliens has covered this. We'll continue to cover this many, many times in the future. And another friend of the show, especially when we talk about indigenous people doing impressive things with big rocks, Graham Koch has also weighed in to explain why the indigenous people who live there didn't do it.
Oh no. I want to hit my dramatic fart button, but it is so long. Do we endure? Do we do it?
Yeah, I'll go get a coffee while you
All right, here we go.
We can stop doing it when I stop finding it funny.
Never.
So let's go into the various claims made by these beautiful, strange boys all about Sacsayhuamán. Okay.
We're not trying to make it a joke. We're trying so hard to be very serious about it. It's just in our accents, it sounds like we're saying sexy woman in a weird accent, and we're not trying to. You heard Julian. We're doing our best.
Julian, forgive us.
Julian, please.
Okay. So, let's go with a few of the claims made by our friends. Ancient Aliens talked about the claim that they had maybe melted the stone with some kind of laser-like device.
Gotta be a laser, yeah.
And then molded it into place like it was made of putty. Couldn't do that with medieval technology. Probably couldn't, or Couldn't even do that with today's technology. We don't
No.
typically melt rocks and then mold them into place.
You don't really weld it together like metal.
No.
Rocks, yeah.
But this is also built on some interesting all side pseudo-archaeology that fits around it, because some claims show that like Percy Fawcett, that there was this small there's this claim that there is a species of small bird that, and I believe this is part of Graham Cox theories too, that there's a small bird that that can use a certain type of plant sap, and this sap actually softens rock, and they use that to make nesting holes. They call it the pito plant or the harakaama or gotcha bush. And that the ancient people of the Inca managed to use this secret plant that we've never seen any evidence of to,
okay, I was going to ask, yeah.
to soften the rock in order to fit it into shape. But the idea, so like that legend got passed down through generations and became idea of a memory of a lost technology. Another claim is that these stones show evidence of vitrification or melting, which we talked about. Like we also saw back in Scotland.
Yeah.
And like it's not even a bad call, because the stones do look like they were molded when they were wet, not carved when hard.
They're so smooth and soft.
Mm-hmm. They're like,
just, I can't stress that enough to the listener.
They're
They're
the
so
softest
smooth and
looking
soft.
rocks I've ever seen.
They look like they're inflatable. That's what they look like. They look like they are inflatable rocks.
Yeah. It's wild. Another claim about this site is that it would be impossible to make these precise of cuts without adequate tools. So the Ancient Aliens points out that the Inca only had bronze and stone tools, and that bronze happens to be softer than andesite / granite. So how do you cut harder stone with a softer tool? Can't do it.
How do you cut it?
How do you cut it? Also pointing out that there's very precise measurements happening in the stones as they were put together. Some fitted to 1/10,000th of an inch, which you can only really do with like laser precision. There are no gaps between the stones. I believe they often say you can't even slide a credit card or a razor blade between them.
That's their typical thing they always talk about. Yeah.
And these aren't geometric shapes. They're complex 3D shapes that have 10 plus angles of interlocking between them. So they're very complicated shapes to be perfectly fit together.
Yes.
And rounded corners that, according to Ancient Aliens episode, said that we don't even do that in modern construction.
Why don't we? It looks so inviting.
It is true. It's calming to the eyes. You just look at it and you feel like, oh, this is nice. This feels nice here.
They look like the ones on top in every row look like they're squishing the ones on the bottom. I think that's also part of why they look so soft. Like, because the way that they meet the other rocks makes it look like it's making a divot, like it's like a pillow, like they're all just resting on each other. It's so nice.
Yeah, beautiful. The next piece to talk about is that it's just like this is a peak Ancient Aliens, and that is that the stones were all very heavy. Again, we mentioned 1 to 200 tons that needed to be transported several kilometers away, uphill at 12,000 feet of elevation. Ancient Aliens calculated that to move one of these stones would require the work of 2,500 people.
That's so many people.
With George Tsoukalos even saying,
"We're struggling."
I believe like this might actually be where that clip is from.
It might. I think it's close.
Yeah.
It's. He's probably said that a bunch.
Yeah.
I should just cut together all the times he says we're struggling. You know what? Actually, it probably is the same clip that they've used. I think he said it once and they've just probably reused it.
So Giorgio Tsoukalos said, we're struggling with this even with modern technology. There's no wheels. You know, the Inca did not invent the wheel. They didn't have iron. They didn't have machinery. How could they do it? How do you move it?
How do you move it?
Yeah, exactly.
Great question. This soundboard was designed for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, because this is just peak Ancient Aliens nonsense.
100%.
The other part, and this also is very much, this is used by both the Graham-Cock theory and the ancient astronaut theory together. There's the legend of Viracocha.
Ooh.
So Viracocha is one of the Inca gods, described as a, quote, white-skinned, bearded, blue-eyed man in long robes.
Naturally.
Who carried a staff that was used for communication, teleportation, even time travel. So this is this is the doctor. The doctor.
This is the doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. So according to Ancient Aliens, according to the Inca, Viracocha created humanity, taught civilization, and that they have references from Emperor Pachacutec, who said he saw metal fall from the sky into Lake Titicaca, showing Viracocha's image.
Should I have seen if Julian had videos about how to pronounce all of these words?
We're good.
It's too late now.
It's too late. We got to keep moving. And also there's just a legend that the megalithic stones came to life, rising to the sky and projecting against enemies. So Ancient Aliens asks, is it possible for the story of this god levitating massive stones to be true? Is this extraterrestrials? Or if it's Graham-Cock, are these white people who did so much hallucinogens that they could move rocks with their mind?
What if it were true?
Yeah, what if it were true?
What if it were true?
Depending upon what level of the Graham-Cock funnel you're in, he'll either say that they use the bird tree sap rock softening device or rock softening material to shape them. Or if you go really down, then it's like they did so much LSD or whatever that they were able to move rocks with their mind. Never forget.
It always comes back to that. Always comes back to that.
I hope Ancient Apocalypse gets 100 seasons so that he has to get to the point where it's like, did you know that they could just do so much MDMA they could move rocks with their mind?
And you can too at home. Let me show you.
I just can't believe they keep giving seasons to it when Graham Hancock has a book where one of his citations is a dream he had.
It's quite literally the source. Trust me, bro.
Yeah. So that kind of fits into the Graham-Cock theory that there was an earlier to steelman it. Graham-Cock theory is that in the Pleistocene there was an advanced civilization that sometimes we call Atlantis, but we often call some kind of ancient people who, after their society collapsed due to rapid climate change at the end of the Pleistocene, that they then seeded civilizations around the world and basically are responsible for all of the stuff that was all the megaliths and stuff like that were built by indigenous people primarily. And it's very, very important to know that these people who did this were white.
Hugely important. Please don't forget about that detail.
Yeah. So the Inca, and the Inca do claim that they found, according to this, Graham-Cock says that the Inca found this site, did not build it, and that there are actually evidence of two different construction phases, which is important for explaining something a little bit later on, because the Inca also claim that they found the site and that they also built upon it. So that's an important thing. It's attributed to a unknown pre-Inca culture that had advanced technology, like the Quilca culture. Or the Quilca culture was dismissed at the time as being too primitive to have done it. So it had to be the Graham-Cock.
I see.
Yeah. I
see.
Did I tell you that my son, after making us watch K-pop Demon Hunters like 25 times, will sometimes just get right up in my face and put his finger in my eye and go, I see. And then it'll be like, actually, I don't see. And I'm like, this is very cute, but your finger is on my glasses lens. But seriously, though, even though I know we're being kind of facetious about these claims, how do you make something like this, right? Like,
how do you do it?
Yeah, like this isn't 2-ton limestone blocks like the pyramids. This isn't the Moai who are like, like stone pillars. 200-ton multi-angled precision fitting rocks at very high altitudes is a genuinely very interesting thing to do, and is
Very impressive. Yeah.
Extraordinarily so. So the ancient alien narrative has the answer that nobody built it. Aliens managed to do it with lasers or with something. But what if I told you that we actually do know exactly how many people built it, what their names were, how long it took, and what they ate for lunch?
I would like to know more, please.
So, like, this is what we're going to figure out is, like, what does the evidence actually show about this site? And what gets erased when we believe the false mystery? So by the end of this episode, by the end of this whole thing, you're going to go and see the man from the provinces who was conscripted on a 2-month mita duty, who pulled a rope attached to a giant stone, and how Ancient Alien filmed an episode that made all of his work disappear. But first, product, service.
Ooh. Yeah. How many holes can we fill with products and services?
Yeah. How many Nebula subscriptions for one? How many holes do we have to fill with Nebula subscriptions to get one hole full of maize?
Would love to know the answer on the other side of this.
7.
See, I was going to say 6 or 7, and then that way people will do the meme.
Or 2, 6, 7. Okay, so that we have now won over the 11-year-olds who listen to the show.
Boom. All right, everyone listening with your parents, all you kids listening with your parents, you're allowed 1. Say it right now. 6, 7.
6, 7. Fortnite.
Minecraft, sure, why not?
Roblox. Skibbity toilet.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. We have now we're pivoting to a Gen Alpha audience, so we have to get ready for all of this.
We just needed to appeal to your child, who I think is younger than Gen Alpha.
Yeah, they don't have a name yet. The closest that people have come to is Gen C, because they're the kids who had their formative young years during lockdown. So people basically born, like, I think it's like after 2008. And yeah. But you know what we do have documentation about at this point? The construction.
Yes, I do, because you teased it. You teased me with it. I want to know more.
Yeah. The construction of Sacsayhuamán. Because remember how I said it was built in the 14th century or the 15th century?
Yes, you did say that.
So, do you know it was after the 1400s?
The 1500s?
Yeah. The 1500s had quite an impact on South America and Peru in particular, in the sense that the Spanish showed up and caused quite a ruckus. So I want to tell you about a chronicle that came out in 1553 by a guy named Pedro Cieza de Leon. Pedro Cieza de Leon.
Let's consult Julian.
Pedro.
He doesn't have a video.
I just got back from Mexico, so Pedro Cieza de Leon. He was a Spanish chronicler who documented the construction of Sacsayhuamán because he was able to talk to people who were alive when it was built.
Okay.
So not legends, not anything.
A primary source.
A primary source. He talked to a person, like he talked to people who remembered its construction. So this wasn't like vagueness. There wasn't like estimates or anything. They pointed out that the provinces would provide 20,000 men, and then the villages would send necessary provisions in order to make it happen. So remember how they said you needed 2,500 people to move the rock? Well, they had 20,000.
Okay, so they they had plenty.
Yeah. So they even had data like 4,000 workers had the job of cutting stones and quarrying. 6,000 workers were hauling stones using, quote, great cables of leather and kabuya, which I believe is like llama hair. And they had 10,000 workers who worked preparing foundations, making the timber scaffolding, and preparing the site.
10,000 just doing the foundations and the sort of infrastructure. Wow.
Not to mention that these people weren't really burning out, because what happened was they had this interesting rotational system that we're going to get into because it's key to how the Inca Empire really functioned. But basically what happened is people would come in, work for about 2 months, then they would go home and they would be relieved by others. So they always had like 20,000 people who were there able to do the work. So there was not like there was not like, you know, like you could think about like, oh, that would be a lot of people. How are they going to like, you know, tend to their farms or whatever? There was always,
it wasn't the same people.
Yeah, it was a rotation going on at all times, which meant that construction could happen all the time. But also you weren't like sacrificing like maize production to do so.
As a quick tangent, as a quick aside, have you heard of or seen the new show Pluribus?
I have. It is so good.
It's quite good.
Now we are recording this when just the first 2 episodes have dropped. So
only 2
the
episodes
show
have
might
dropped.
have the show might have gone a completely different direction.
The show also could have released an episode about how to protest woke people.
Episode 3 could just start with what's her name, Rhea something. It just starts with her saying the N-word for 1 hour straight.
And then at that point we don't. Actually, it's not good anymore.
Yeah. So,
but anyway, Emily and I were talking about it because after we watched the show, it sparked a big sort of conversation between us. And maybe we cut all of this out so we don't spoil Pluribus for anybody. But anyway, I will just say, you talking about people rotating in and out made me think of Pluribus.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also want to talk about another chronicle of the construction of the site that was by a guy named Garcilaso de la Vega, who was a son of a Spanish conquistador with an Incan mother. So somebody who lived between both worlds of the conqueror and conquered. So this person, again, indigenous mother, Spanish father. So learned Spanish, but also, you know, probably learned Quechua and was able to document by being able to walk amongst those 2 worlds. And honestly, in a lot of like, you know, in my time as a historian studying documents of this period, a lot of times you see this in Mexico as well. You get a lot of insight into like kind of like primary source material by a lot of these people who are like the children of conquistadors, because again, they had cultural fluency in 2 places, so they could do stuff like learn all of their people's culture and then write in Spanish about it. And oftentimes those end up being like the only like, you know, good written documents about like the history and the beliefs of a lot of indigenous cultures. So this guy, Garcilaso de la Vega, like fits right in with that tradition.
That's awesome.
To the point where he was able to name the master builders and architects that built the site. Their names were Hualpa Rimachi, Inca Maricanchi, Akawana Inca, and Kaya Kunchui. My Quechua is not the best. So these were like over that period, like those decades that they built this, those were the master architects of the people who actually built the site.
Incredible.
Yeah.
We got their names.
We got their names.
This is huge.
Because construction began, again, the construction began under the Emperor Pachacutec, which was started around the year 1450 and was completed by Huayna Capac, which was in the early 16th century, i.e., this happened in the early 1500s. This was finished in the early 1500s when like there were Spaniards in the Americas at that point. So
incredible.
So
and those 4 people built the whole thing by themselves.
Construction took about 70 years. So that was it's a very long construction. It took a long time. There's also similar chroniclers from the time that corroborate all of this stuff. There's Pietro Sarmiento de Gaboa, Bernabe Cobo, Juan de Betanzos, and all of them write down, like they corroborate that like this is exactly the process of how it happened.
So we have quite a few sources.
Yeah, because unlike a lot of the other sites that we have here, like the pyramids, we don't have like written down guides on how they did things because it's so long ago. This is like thousands of years ago. But this one happened like this isn't like a site like the mound, like, you know, the earthen mounds in the American South, where like the people who did it didn't have a written language, and then by the time the Europeans arrived, the sort of secrets to how it were built were kind of lost. This was built by a active empire that was still active when the Spanish arrived, and there were still people alive who were involved with building it when the Spanish arrived to talk about it. So
heavily documented, it seems.
Yeah. Now, the reason that they were able to do this, and this is sort of one of like the engines that made, because this was made by a entity, an empire that we are probably, most of us, vaguely familiar with, the Inca Empire, which is honestly one of the most fascinating empires in history. They were humongous. It was a giant empire that spanned a massive part of South America. They had infrastructure and roadways that connected huge parts of it. But the thing is that the empire was also heavily built in the mountains. So like these people lived at extremely high altitudes, had a very complex system of infrastructure and everything like that. Like this was like this wasn't like for example, when we think of like imperial periods in like amongst indigenous empires in the Americas, like in North America, we had a variety of different types of political organizations. Probably the one that I'm most familiar with is someone from the Great Lakes is the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, or sometimes they're called the Iroquois. And today they're known as the Six Nations. Like they still are around today. And like they had their kind of political organization unit that was, you know, like based on their lifestyle, which at that point was like a kind of semi-sedentary sort of society. You know, you had the more nomadic people who lived in the West. Like we had all this, like, but when you think of like empires, like, you know, like conquerors, armies, that kind of thing, the other one you'd probably think of is the Triple Alliance of Tenochtitlan, which is sometimes called the Aztec Empire in Mexico. But like that was not like, it was an empire, but it was like, what it was is an alliance of 3 city-states where one just became like overwhelmingly the dominant power. And a lot of their, you know, territory were cities that basically every so often gave tribute to Tenochtitlan, which is the city that became Mexico City today. So it wasn't like it was organized, but it was it wasn't like it wasn't infrastructurally like it was not like it wasn't like the Roman Empire, you know. It was city states that were collecting tribute from other city states. The Inca had an empire. Like they had roads, taxation, bureaucrats. Like they had systems that spanned a very large area in the fucking mountains.
Very famously, they had to have an empire, you need an emperor. Very famously, they did have an emperor who did
was
turn into
a llama. A llama.
Yeah, it's a llama. Yeah.
Played by David Spade.
Very famously. You may have seen it. So let's not pretend we don't know what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So the Inca had a large spanning empire with many provinces and villages. How do you keep that many people? Like, keep in mind, today, the reason why we can have big countries that are developed the way they are is because we have near instantaneous communication. We have travel infrastructure. We have vehicles. Like, if we lost our internet, if we lost our radio, and if we lost our roads, the ability for, like, say, Ottawa, which, you know, even like Ottawa, like being so far away, to be able to tell anybody here in London what to do would take weeks, right? And so it's like harder to like build an empire in like that kind of situation. And so how do you keep people in check? How do you keep people organized? How do you keep like the people under your control?
Well, I mean, not to go back to it, but there are ways that I've learned in the show Pluribus how to just
It's
immediately
true.
how to just immediately communicate with people around the world.
Yeah, there is that. One of the things that the Inca did in order to not only like get the labor to do all of the construction and the infrastructure building that they did, because they built all these road systems, but to also ensure like the sort of mutual participation and loyalty of the people under them, was something called the Mita system.
Okay, the Mita, MIT apostrophe A.
Mm-hmm. The closest thing that we might see to this is something called the corvée system, which is sort of a nickname for the system they had in Egypt for the building of a lot of the major monuments. But basically it was a tax, but like a work tax. Like you
pay the tax with your body.
Yeah, you pay the tax with your body. So basically every year, every able-bodied man between the ages of 15 and 50 had to work for the empire on public works projects for about 2 to 4 months. So they would organize this through things called ailu, which are these kinship groups, and each ailu would send 1/7 of their adult males annually to participate in the Mita Libre system.
I read this wrong in the notes. I thought it said they will send 1/7 of an adult male annually. I was going to ask how that is possible.
No, so basically how this works is every year, every kind of kinship group family is, the term doesn't really apply in like kind of Western concepts of kinship, but they had their own sort of these like family, clan, tribe, whatever you want to call, and then they would each be tasked by the Incan Empire as subjects to send 1/7 of their adult males to work for 2 to 4 months of the year.
Like summer camp.
Yeah. In response, or in reciprocally, the empire would then provide things like food, clothing, and housing while they were doing that work. So you would be the people would
like summer camp.
Yeah. And we know that actually, like, people used to talk about how there used to be like the myth that like slaves built the pyramids, but like they didn't. The people who built the pyramids were in a sort of work situation that was not unlike this, where they basically, the state, like we talked about this, how ancient Egypt was a very highly centralized, organized country. And so they just had like a sort of labor tax, which I think was called the corvée system later on by like, non-Egyptians. Where they would be required to work, and when they did, they would be, they'd be fed, they'd be housed. So this is just like a part of their empire building. They would track their work with things called quipu is one of the coolest Inca things that I don't even know if we should if I can veer into it too much, but quipu is basically an entire written language done with knots.
We've talked about this before. Yes. Are there examples I can find online?
There's some quipu. There's some pre-Columbian quipu artifacts that have survived. Because I said, when the Spanish arrived, the Inca Empire was at its high point.
This is beautiful. Are they often? I didn't realize this when you mentioned it, but they almost every time I see them displayed, they're in like a ring. So they're spread out like rays of light from a center circular sort of thing.
What they are is they're like that's just a cool way of displaying it. They're like a string with strings hanging down. So
yes, that's all they are. But the way to display it is cool. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is super, super awesome. And one of the things that they would do is that they could use it for basically for keeping track of things. And so oftentimes that was quipu was one of the ways they kind of used as administrative stuff. And
I like it.
They also the people who would make these quipus and would keep track of things were people called Kipuka Mayoks. Kipuka Mayoks. So Kipuka Mayoks. which were sort of specialist officials whose job was basically to be like the bean counters of the empire.
They're the Kipu Keepers.
Yeah, the Kipu Keepers. The workers would come from the provinces, as the Spanish writing goes, who were mobilized across the 4 quarters of the empire called the Tawan Tinsuyu. And again, for over 70 years, they had 20,000 workers at this site rotating in and out all the time. So
just so cool.
Yeah. Their reign, Thietza de Leon wrote their living arrangements as living in huts. Each lineage would live apart near the place where workers were progressing. To this day, most of the walls and the lodgings may be seen. So they even have writings about like what their life was like. They lived in huts. They had food. They had clothing.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I joke, but it's actually a little better than summer camp, because typically in summer camp, you're supposed to provide your own clothing.
I mean, they didn't have much of a choice in participating, this is one of the things is like,
hey, I didn't have a choice in participating in Bible camp when I was younger. Okay. My parents made me do that.
Okay. Fair enough. But yeah, like, cause like one of the interpretations that people have put on this system was that it was slavery. And it's like, it's a complicated thing to call it, but slavery doesn't quite fit the bill, but also it's not that, it's not that, it's a whole different thing.
It's mandatory service in a different way. Yeah, it is hard. I think you nailed it. It's not that, but it's not that.
Yeah, exactly. So, now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how did they do it? How did they build this fucking incredible molten site, right?
How do you move
it? Here's how you move it. So the stone that makes up Sacsayhuamán is primarily limestone, or silicous limestone, or microspirite or sparite. The source quarries for this were called Rumicocla, which is an andesite and limestone quarry, and Chakikata, otherwise a red granite site.
Okay.
And one of the ways that, first of all, they did not rely on having to break off chunks from the bedrock, because Rumicocla actually is, if you look at basically there's natural cracks in the rocks, there's natural layers, and a fractured rock bed, which meant that to source the stones for Sacsayhuamán, they would not have to like carve it out of the bedrock, like say like the pyramids. They could just take the broken pieces of stone out of the sort of thing they're in, right? Because it came pre-cut basically.
Yeah, I'm seeing pictures now. Yeah, it's just like big stones with lots of layers, lots of like already sort of cut across layers that you could just like pop some stuff out of.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So they would use that. That saves them a whole lot of time. Then they would lever them out with natural joints. So they would just, instead of like, basically, as you said, they basically pop them out of the ground instead of cutting them out.
Yeah, cool.
And then they would use, at the top of outcrops, they would detach the material vertically by basically using what they call percussion techniques, which is another term for hitting it with rocks for a very long period of time.
Okay.
They would also use a little bit of wedge and water splitting, which is actually like a thing that has been used by people all over the world forever. Like if you have a giant boulder in your like field and you need to get rid of it, this is how you're going to do it. You'll find a small crack. You'll put some like wooden like wedges into it, and then you'll pour a bunch of water in there. And the wood,
play some Kenny G.
Oh my god. That was way dirtier than I thought it was gonna go.
Sorry.
That's
I don't have that sound bite.
Yeah. So the water would absorb, the wood would absorb the water, and they would expand, and that would help with the fracturing and cracking of the rock.
It's just like, I'm in my element, folks. I'm back at it. It's just like in Ant-Man 1 when they break a lock by spraying it with
it's just like Ant-Man and the Boys, where
it's just
they
like
split
Ant-Man
the guy
1.
by
Where they put, it's just like Ant-Man where he goes into Thanos' butt and expands outward and grows, and then that's how they save the day in the first Ant-Man movie. They beat Thanos in that one.
I keep thinking of The Boys. Okay. Don't think about it. Okay. The shaping of the rocks. So the actual, like, we figured out, like, the getting them out of the ground wasn't that bad. So how do you shape them so that they can fit so perfectly like that? And this actually was solved in the 1980s by a archaeologist by the name of Jean-Pierre Poitzin, who did a bunch of experiments to figure out how they did this. You know, our old fave, probably the best job on Earth, experimental archaeology.
To be an experimental archaeologist.
Yeah, I love it. So they found that you can actually shape it with something called hammerstones. What are hammerstones, you ask?
It sounds like something from D&D.
Yeah. What you do is you go to a river and find cobblestones and then hit the rock with those stones.
Cool.
So you can actually, like, even andesite, which is, like, you know, extremely hard rock. You hit that for a really long time, even with rock that is quote unquote softer than it, you can still over a long period of time change the shape.
Yeah.
And so you can actually use that to make flat surfaces through basically patiently pecking at it for a long time. And it also creates that kind of pitted surface texture that Ancient Aliens calls melted. So if you like that sort of soft shape it has comes from hammerstones, basically like it was shaped by them just hitting the stones over and over again. So it got like a rounded shape to it as they did over time. You can use that to make complex curves, and it's exactly the kinds of things we see at Sacsayhuamán.
Yeah, Sacsayhuamán has some curves.
God damn it.
I'm so sorry.
This is the episode. This is the episode that ends us. So the percussion with the hammerstones would break off tiny, tiny chips. Because really, it is really tough stone. So it's really hard to do it. So you're only getting like little bits at a time. One person could work on one stone for months in order to shape it into the right shape. Then, but when we talked to Ancient Aliens, they were claiming they were using bronze tools, and bronze tools are too soft to be able to work the stone. This is true because the bronze that was used at the site was not used for chipping stone. They were used for like small adjustments and like leverage, not for the shaping of the rock.
Ah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. The melted appearance comes because andesite and limestone, when you peck at it with hammerstones for a long period of time, get a kind of smooth, undulating surface created by microfracturing that makes it look kind of plastic. Like the plasticity comes from like basically like little tiny cracks that are in all over the rock.
Teeny things.
Yeah. So it's not vitrification, but just shaping. The mold. So like your eyes aren't lying to you. Like they do look like they're molded, but it's because this produces an effect that looks kind of like that. And then how are they able to fit them so precisely and so perfectly? They did so through what was described to me as trial and error. So what they would do is they would like lift the stone into the place where it's going to go, then find out where all the contact points are. So where it touched other things. One of the things they would do is use like dust. They would coat the inside of the area with dust, lower the rock onto it, then lift it up and see where it touched all the stones with the dust. And then they would use the hammerstones and pound it until it like would fit a better shape and have more contact. And they would just repeat that until they got a perfect fit.
Yeah.
It's not...
I feel like that's a technique that's like still used today. Like that, not necessarily for stonework, although I don't know, but like I've definitely seen people like, I don't know, like coat something in paint or a marker or something, then press it against a surface to sort of see the marks that it leaves behind to like help them measure things out. Like, yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. And so, they would just do it over and over again. It's not impossible. It's just very slow.
Sure.
It's very meticulous. These people were in no rush to finish the job. It was iterative.
And you even you talked about this at the beginning, and this is something that comes up a lot when we talk about these ancient structures, which is that I think people today are so used to construction, like modern construction, taking like a couple of years for like a brand new building. Like if that, like an impressive new building in a couple of years versus this is decades. This is just decades and also thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
Tens of thousands of people.
And this isn't even just like a thing unique to like the Americas or to like you say, like Europe is full of cathedrals that took multiple generations to build. Like this is not an unheard of thing in cultures where, the profit motive wasn't the primary driver of making things. So it's possible, like some of the estimates show that, or some of the estimates that scholars have is that these like lift, adjust, lower cycles that they had could have happened hundreds of times until they were the right shape. So it was a very very meticulous, slow, and iterative process. We also see some evidence of its construction in the rocks themselves. We have these things that we see called lifting bosses, which are these protrusions that are left on the stone, specifically to attach ropes to them. So you can see at Sacsayhuamán, you can see there are visible marks that show where like ropes were supposed to go, which just shows that they very well planned and structured site.
And did ancient aliens mention the ropes? Did they mention
they
that the
oddly
places
didn't
leave the ropes?
They oddly didn't.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
They're usually so good about this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other thing too is like, how do you move it, right? Like, I'm sorry, we've used the button a lot today, but
we've used the button so much. I wish I could add effects to the button. I guess we can do that in post.
How do you move it?
Make it sound funny. Make it sound like modulated. Like I want you to move it. Right, here we go.
Yeah.
Do something funny with that one.
So on first blush, you look at one of these rocks and your first thing is like, well, I can't lift a 200-ton stone, so that must be impossible. But the thing is that
speak for yourself.
Yeah. But the thing is that like coordinated groups can actually change the physics quite a bit. And experimental archaeology shows that we have we have actual numbers as to like how to move these rocks, and we don't have like speculation or estimates. So the modern day experiments show that 10 people were able to move a 1-ton concrete block on a wooden sled at a speed of 1.6 kilometers an hour. Not fast, but it is moving.
It's moving.
10 people with 1 ton. They use a static trackway because actually what I found out is that the rollers that like the Egyptians used, it was not as good as like building a track out of logs that were perpendicular to the way it was moving. So kind of like making a rail line almost for the rocks.
Yeah.
And that apparently worked better because log jams or rollers can jam when the diameters of the wood don't match or they're misaligned. And also, it's So it's even more stable that way.
That's so cool.
So using this number, 10 people for 1 ton, one of these 40-ton stones could theoretically be moved by 200 people, which is, not a significantly lower number than 20,000.
They've got spares.
Yeah, that was their anticipation. That was what they anticipated when they thought about moving the sites. They actually tried. And when they did the experiment, they actually found out that they only needed 130 people to move one of those in an uphill situation.
Holy cow!
So going uphill, they needed on a flat surface, they could move about 1 kilometer per day. These
all right,
1 kilometer moving a 40-ton rock 1 kilometer in a day is pretty impressive.
Hey, I have a quick question. Are experimental archaeologists like
ripped?
Fit? Are they like ripped?
They must be. They a lot of their jobs seem to involve moving big rocks. Maybe this is the new what's that exercise system that basically involves using a junkyard as your gym? CrossFit.
Oh, CrossFit.
So this is the
This
new
is the
CrossFit.
new CrossFit.
The new Inca CrossFit challenge where you move like giant stones up a hill.
Hey guys, all you need is you, 129 of your best friends, in a giant stone.
This is the epitome of what's that line? This is just dudes being bros or whatever.
Yeah, just guys being dudes.
This is just guys being dudes, where like they just get together and move big rocks. This is maybe one of the most dudes rock type of no pun intended. This is one of the most like dudes rock kind of activities.
Yeah.
So if we were to scale up this experiment to the stones at Sacsayhuamán, you find that 200 tons would mean you would need 5 times. It's about 5 times the 40-time ones, which means that you would need about 650 people to 800 people to move one of these 200-ton blocks. Cieza de Leon documented that they had 6,000 workers who were assigned to just the job of hauling rocks, which meant that they definitely had the manpower to move even the largest rocks that are at Sacsayhuamán.
Oh, yeah. Sacsayhuamán.
And one of the things that they had that was one of their superpowers is that the Inca were really, really fucking good at making ropes. Like textiles in general, like Incan textiles are like legendary, but their ropes were really good. They were made with these giant cables that were, according to the Spanish chronicles of the site, these huge cables that were made with llama hair and leather. And these small ropes that they made with ichu grass could support up to 4,000 pounds of weight.
Jesus.
Yeah, the larger ropes, the ones that had the leather and hair, could hold up to 50,000 pounds.
Holy moly.
So you get a couple of those ropes around these really big rocks, and you get a team of guys, and you just,
and you got CrossFit Inca.
You got CrossFit, you got Inca CrossFit. We should that's going to be our next, that's going to be our first grift, is we're going to start a workout program that is going to be based around building megaliths.
Yes.
That, I feel like given how European and North American civilization is falling apart because guys are kind of insecure. Maybe we should guys are insecure, so therefore they decided to destroy democracy. Maybe we can.
What if we just built? What if we just built stone buildings?
This is our new thing.
For no reason other than just for art.
We're gonna fix toxic masculinity. We're gonna get rid of men's rights activists and pickup artists and red pillars. Have you taken the rock pill, which is just have you gone out with a bunch of other dudes, grabbed like a 2-4 or like a keg, I guess in America, and just moved really big rocks and built like megaliths. I feel like if we were to do that, a lot of this energy and negativity that is right now causing the basically collapse of democracy could be channeled into making really big rock monolith things. And I feel like we'd all be better off for it. So,
channel it into the rock, guys. Channel it into the stone.
I feel like we could build an entire alternative masculinity system about this.
Yes, because then they would see they could have a physical thing to see what their toil has resulted in. Now, obviously, it will take several decades to make something quite substantial, but it's building on the work of others. Once we get that ball rolling, once we get that rock a tumbling, then I think society just improves indefinitely.
I think we're onto something. I think that we've cured masculinity. We have figured out toxic masculinity's solution, and that is just we need to channel this energy in a new direction.
Yes, and we did it by stealing from another culture.
Hell yeah! As the white man on the podcast, I got this. I did it.
And what do you mean, as the white man on the podcast? We're both white.
We are both white. Okay, as the only man.
Yeah. I now see what you're saying.
Yeah. I did it. Now I'll take credit for it. Joe Rogan, have me on your show. I am the Joe Rogan we're the Joe Rogan of the left, so we'll meet with the Joe Rogan of the right. We'll have a conference, and we will discuss this. I feel like Joe Rogan would get behind the move big rock movement.
I feel like he's secretly been moving big rocks, and no one.
He is secretly a big rock.
I think he is. Yeah,
he is. Not a big rock. He's actually quite short. Anyways, so yeah, they would just like the smaller stones. They would just drag them along like prepared soil beds. They'd like soften up the ground and move it across. Easy enough to do. The bigger ones would use timber sleds or log rollers for the heavier ones. Then they would either use earthen ramps or inclined planes for uphill movement. And of course, the number one useful thing in all of ancient technology, levers made from wood and bronze for fine maneuvering, for like, moving those stones into precise place and stuff. And also the timeline, as we mentioned, 70 years of construction time, 20,000 people working on the site at any given time. Like, you're not going to move 200-ton stones in a day. You're going to move it 3 feet per day for months. Patience, coordination, and time makes it very, very achievable. I just remember, I just wrote here, patience plus coordination plus time equals achievable. My brain is
fucking... Dude, that's the fucking slogan for our Incan CrossFit.
There you go. Yeah, all right, everybody.
We're teaching them patience. We're teaching them coordination. We're teaching them time management. This is perfect.
New contest. If we're going to solve toxic masculinity with this movement, we need a really good name for this fitness-based workout. I
feel like CrossFit is trademarked or something, so we probably
can't use CrossFit. No, I'm thinking Pilates. Does anyone have that one yet?
Pilates, because you're pulling a lot.
Yeah, Pilates. Yeah,
you pull a lot. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, let's do that one.
This reminds me a lot of one of my favorite Nathan Fielder bits, which is The Movement, where he invents an entire exercise program based around lifting and moving boxes, and then he charges people to participate in these, but then he also charges. Like, he basically just starts a moving company where the people come to the class and move stuff for them. And it's called The Movement.
Guy's fucking genius.
Yeah. So there we go.
We have to keep moving. Yeah. We keep doing so many bits. We're like halfway through this.
Okay. So... and also let's address some of the other things. So they did say that there were no adequate tools at the site. Unfact. That is just what we like to call factant or a lie in other terms, because there are hammerstones all over the place at the Inca site that they just did. They just said these wouldn't be able to do the thing that we have demonstrated they've been able to do. They do work. They're not too primitive to work. They do work. So, and on top of that, absence of evidence is also a fallacy. You can't say that it was impossible because there isn't evidence of a thing there, because you can't prove a negative like that. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. That's the typical term people use.
That's the thing. I mean, it cuts both ways though, right?
Yeah.
Like, because we could also say, well, we haven't found evidence of aliens doing anything either, bud.
Yeah. Exactly. And the other thing too is that they say there's no tools, when it's like, yeah, because you dismiss the plethora of tools that are there.
Yeah. If you overlook every tool that we found, you're right. There's no tools there.
Yeah, exactly. The precision joints again were done through trial and error. Time, iteration, skilled labor. And also over 70 years, they got pretty good at this process. They got the techniques developed, master builders learned how to do it. And the fact is that actually these stones can shift and resettle because they are only held together with gravity and friction. So that actually explains the sort of earthquake defensiveness, is that they're just really heavy and they have a little bit of flexibility that comes to the fact that if the earth rumbles, they can just resettle.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's not a perfectly rigid structure.
Yeah. It's a little loosey-goosey.
And the thing is that there actually was like the theory that there was like an ancient civilization that built it and then they just built this new one. Because part of the claim, as I mentioned earlier, was that like when people show them these records, they'll say, yeah, but that's because they built on top of the really impressive stuff, which was done by the ancient aliens or the ancient white people or whatever. But it's like, yeah, there actually was a civilization that did live there before. Like, it actually is a layered construction because at that site, the Quilca culture did live there. We see pottery and artifacts that are found there. So the Inca believing that they found this site and didn't build it, but also them writing that they built it, are both true, because when they went, they found the site and then built stuff on top of it. So they're both right, but Ancient Aliens and Graham Cock are contorting that fact to those two things together into something that makes no sense. So they take the idea that the Quilca culture existed and then add a bunch of speculation on top of it to diminish what was actually done there.
Taking a tiny, like they're taking a grain of truth and just sort of conflating it to be something it's absolutely not.
Exactly. The other thing too is that we talked about Viracocha, the god, the white bearded god who could like time travel, the doctor.
How could I forget? Yeah.
So Viracocha is, in the Inca cosmology, is their like supreme creator deity. He's associated with the sky, the mountains, the environment, water, everything. Because the cosmology of the Inca is that there's three realms: the Hanan Pacha, the upper world; the Kaipacha, the earthly realm; and the Ukupacha, the underworld. They had a very complex Andean religion, philosophy system, and they took this sacred belief and then reframed it through a technological lens, specifically latching onto the white skin and bearded description of Viracocha, which was something that was added during the colonial era, not in their like pre-Columbian mythology. So it's a thing that the Spanish might have been responsible for adding.
What? I don't believe that.
And the staff being a teleportation device, I have absolutely I could not find any connection to where this comes. This was just like, they just added shit.
And then also it shot laser beams and dragons that shoot lightning.
Yeah.
Instead of fire.
This is another one of those cases where what they did is they took documents and they took like myths and beliefs that come from like a spirit, like a culture that has a different spirituality than like, the Western Abrahamic religions. Then because people don't have the same cultural like lens to go through it, or the, right-wing American audience that watches Ancient Aliens doesn't have it, they would then filter it through a science fiction lens, just reinterpreting all this stuff through that. And you come out the other end with these things. I mean, like, this is very similar to the kind of shit they do with the Hindus and various other faiths as well. And again, the bird legend about a small bird that can use plant sap to soften stones it's a myth. It's folklore. It's Andean folklore. Like, this is a thing. The reason why is because there are some birds in the Andes that nest in holes in rock faces, and they kind of built a myth that the birds are what create those holes in the rock faces. There's some kingfishers and woodpeckers that do this. So, and then also a lot of the sort of like, this is like a sap that was used for this was actually added through colonial retellings, like later on, post-Columbian kind of stuff.
Again.
Yeah. And the biggest thing is that we've never been able to find this plant that softens stone.
Boy.
Or even evidence that one ever existed. So it's probably just like a way to try to, like, it's probably a myth or a folklore that was designed to explain erosion, or the patterns of erosion you see in rocks. So no
magical plant that can weld rocks together.
No. So let's look at the people who let's look at what Ancient Aliens is racing here. You've got this worker from the provinces who has been sent by his Ailu for a 2-month mit'a service. He's one of 6,000 hauling workers that Cieza de Leon documented. He pulls a rope made of llama hair and leather that's attached to 200-ton stones.
Yes.
And today they moved it 3 feet. Tomorrow they'll move it 3 feet more. In 6 months it'll be in position. And we don't know what his name is, but we know he existed.
Yeah.
So Ancient Aliens just completely erases that effort in that story. The 20,000 workers were real people. They lived in villages. They had names. They had families. They had lives. They worked under the mit'a system, a sophisticated organization labor that was about demonstrating state capacity. This was like, how the Inca were able to rally the labor needed to build all of this infrastructure to keep the empire going was through this system. They had, named architects, like this was designed by very specific people. They had the time. It took 70 years to build this thing.
They had the time. They had the people.
And because there were this kind of project was meant to because it was not just because of the demand for labor, but also because they needed to make it was part of empire building. It was part of nation building. So it was part of the fact that all the different groups had to contribute to the labor system meant that they had a lot of surplus labor to put into different projects. So sometimes big works like this were didn't have necessarily a purpose, although I don't really know about the purpose of the site, but they could build it because they had the people to do so. I
guess that was going to be my final question. I guess I don't know if we really touched on it. It was more so just sort of but what is this place for? Or what is this thing for?
I think we kind of don't know for sure. We know that there's some suspicion that it is shaped like a puma, which was a animal that they revered quite strongly. So it might have had some religious significance. It might have been a monument or something like that.
Okay.
But
even if we don't know what it was for, we absolutely have the evidence of who made it, how they made it.
Yeah, every aspect of it. And just again, it shows the political economy of the Inca and what they could mobilize, which is quite impressive. And again, it was written down not by people who were remembering things, were written down by people who lived through parts of its construction. So we know the numbers. It's not this isn't speculation. This isn't secondhand material. It's for directly from people who were part of the construction of it. So again, one 200-ton stone probably took 800 people months to move. That's not I want to talk about this is quite an achievement. It's also not exactly a heartwarming thing because this was a demonstration that the Inca were an empire that were able to basically kind of force their subjects to mobilize human bodies to build things.
This is not like Pilates, our movement that is a heartwarming movement. Mm-hmm. It is going to be a heartwarming.
It will warm the heart for sure.
It will for sure warm the heart of all the men out there.
Of all the men out there, who are cold like the stone. Listen, the book is in progress.
We are not forcing men to do this, I guess is what I'm saying is the difference. We don't have some sort of sophisticated state power system that forces men to do it. We want them to do it. We want them to want to do it.
Yeah. You know how
we'll welcome them with open arms.
This will fit into a lot of base male urges like finding big sticks or dropping big rocks in water. We are using this urge to build something constructive.
Yes.
So, but the thing is that the meetup system was reciprocal, but it was also coercive. You served or there were consequences. So it represented both exploitation and the power of human capacity in the same way the pyramids are.
Sure.
The problem is that Ancient Aliens erases both sides of this, both the cost of building it and the achievement of building it. And of course, the Band of Holes shows that the Inca had the sophisticated, administration and documentation to manage all of this stuff. But now it's probably the time for me to make you sad.
Feels like home.
Feels like home. There are three hypotheses I kind of put together, the major reasons why something like this persists. Why, even though we know all this shit, we're still hearing people say that it was melted into place. So,
all right. My first reason, it just kind of looks like it.
Yeah. The main one is that people just don't know the techniques, which is partially true, but I think it's insufficient. Yeah, most people don't know all about the hammerstone experiments. They don't know about the meet-us system. But
even when archaeology communicates this well, the alien narrative still persists. So information deficit alone doesn't explain it.
Fair enough.
All right. The second is the idea that ancient alien theorists are better storytellers, that it's a communications issue, which is partially true, but kind of misses the point. Yes, like laser wielding aliens is going to be a more exciting story than 20,000 workers with hammerstones. And yeah, Ancient Aliens has more dramatic material to present than an academic paper. But that kind of implies that the issue here is just marketing, that if archaeologists were just better at storytelling, that we would solve the issue of like ancient astronaut theories and all this bullshit. But even with good storytelling from archaeology, there are some archaeologists who are amazing communicators who do some really great stuff. Mini Minuteman, for example. The alien narrative still persists because it's not a communication problem. This is an ideological problem. Because the alien narrative serves a lot of contemporary power structures. It maintains a comfortable hierarchy that advanced civilizations came from outside or above, and that indigenous political organization never hit the, like, we feel worse about the idea, like very much to this day, when we talk about the indigenous people of the Americas, but indigenous people around the world, we still, even though we don't like it, we like to imply this idea that like they were wiped out because a more sophisticated, more advanced civilization moved in and took over. And it's just not true. And we need to live with that. Like they'll like people will say like, well, like for example, when we talk about how like smallpox or European introduced diseases, because Europeans lived closer to animals, there was more zoonotic disease transfer. So we like Europeans were just exposed to more viruses because we kept our cows in our kitchens and stuff like that. Meant that we had more diseases, that the indigenous people had less direct contact with animal all the time. So they hadn't built the antibodies. So when we came over, diseases like smallpox destroyed the population of the Americas to the extent where there's some suspicion that there was as many as 100 million people in the Americas that we might have killed like 90+% of with just disease. Furthermore, that these places that we moved into were not just like I even hesitate to say they were like primitive, you know, these were like people lived in very many different ways based on adapting to their environment. But even like in the like traditional way that Europeans think of it, this was a continent that had empires, that had like states in the way that we think of them. And even so, we wiped them out. And so it just shows that like the hierarchy that like we were more advanced, we moved in, took over, is just not comfortable when you think about it. And also then, you know, does the whole appropriation of indigenous mythology in order to, you know, strip it for ad dollars from History Channel.
A classic.
So the idea that it looks impossible persists because acknowledging that the alternative requires confronting that, you know, human capacity is very powerful at scale, because it means we have actually lost some of our organizational capacity. Like we might not be able to make Sacsayhuamán today because we wouldn't be able to get returns within 3 quarters from whatever we were doing. Like those kind of like big projects that take like long time and like don't happen really anymore.
I've been meaning to talk to you about this. Pilates is not doing so well.
No?
We're in the red.
10th minute return. Did you like, we're in the red. You bought one domain while we were here.
I bought a domain, Pilates dot men.
.xy.
Well, actually, all the good names were taken, so I just tried to get pullonmen.com, and
pullonmen.com was very expensive.
That one was extremely expensive to get. So that's why we're in the red. and I apologize.
We're getting
for
a
that.
lot of traffic,
And,
but not a lot of people are interested in what we're selling. They're expecting something else. I don't know.
They're expecting a lot of different. We're getting a lot of angry comments. I don't know why I set up a forum already too.
Just all you added.
It's not been working.
We added a guest book like those websites in 1996.
Yeah,
it's just a comment section,
and it's just a lot of bad stuff I don't want to say on air.
Mm-hmm. The second uncomfortable thing that we face here is that it is human exploitation at scale. It's uncomfortable because it means that like it shows how empires mobilize bodies as resources, which we do today. The fact that like there's something to the sense that like we all need to work to live, like in order like if you don't find a way to make other people money, they just say that you don't get to live, you don't get to have a house and food and stuff, and we just like live with that. And again, indigenous state building capacity, that like the colonial and racist narratives that we built about indigenous people being primitive in whatever capacity you can use that word, is completely false. And that the mystery, even if it's false, is more comfortable than the reality that like, aliens mean that there's an external explanation that it requires no examination of power and hierarchy and structure. 20,000 conscripted workers requires talking about labor, requires talking about state coercion and the confrontation of the idea of empire. Hammerstone's patience and imperial logic is less exciting, but it's in some ways more disturbing. So it says a lot about humanity that is not exactly the most fun parts of our of human existence. And it's feeding modern stuff that sucks. Like Netflix's Ancient Apocalypse continues this narrative. Pseudo-archaeology is probably one of the most active, like it's one of the things that's actively harming decolonization efforts. So when you ask the question, who benefits from maintaining indigenous achievement being impossible, it's the colonial power structure that is still today profiting from indigenous dispossession, which is, still has not ended. And I'll probably also like, I'll push this later. Okay. So what do we like? How do we do that? How do we stop an ancient astronaut claim?
Let's find out.
So I'm going to start.
Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. I'm so sad.
I'm going to start this with plugging an article I recently wrote on my Patreon. So if you wanted to join the Step Back Patreon and get my new article, you could. But it's called...
It's going to help us out. It's going to help us get out of the red.
Yeah.
This is going to be great.
But the article is called Facts Are Useless. And I kind of propose a different method for approaching pseudoscience and like basically like conspiracies in general. And that is to not really look like debunking things doesn't actually work for the majority of people who are like bought into the thing, because the beliefs they have are based around identity, not and narrative, not not that this is what their earnest intellectual beliefs are. So let's look. What when you see any ancient astronaut claim, what are the ancient aliens people claiming? Start by doing what I try to do at the beginning, steel manning their argument, give the strongest version of the claim they're making. Acknowledge, for example, at the beginning, I acknowledge that it is very visually compelling. And if at first blush, you would be like, how the hell did this happen?
It is.
It does seem kind of impossible.
It is visually compelling.
So try not to make a weaker version of it or dismiss the observation. Then find out what evidence they actually show, or what the evidence actually shows. So in this case, we looked at archaeology, chronicles, experimental archaeology, all of the, the fields that investigated how this was done. And we found the actual techniques. We found the tests that showed how it happened. While Ancient Aliens was like, I don't know, maybe it was aliens.
Right.
Through doing that work, we found a timeline that makes the methods feasible, and we show that there's the scale of organization required to do it. And then think about what gets erased when we believe the false mystery. The idea of human labor made invisible, indigenous achievement diminished, political economy disappeared, and the context appropriated. And you could apply this in many different cases. As I said many times, the pyramids. What do Egyptian workers and the corvée labor system reveal about state capacity? The Nazca lines. What do the geoglyphs reveal about religious practice and community organization? At Pumapumku, what do Tiwanaku hydraulic engineering reveal about pre-Columbian urbanism?
And in the on Easter Island, the Moai, what does Rapa Nui's organization reveal about island political structures? Because we learned a lot about Rapa Nui's, like we learned about their history through the Moai statues.
Yeah. We also learned a lot about dirt, I remember.
Yeah.
And soil erosion.
And the thing is, it's important to investigate these things because these thought patterns lead to things that are a lot more pernicious and dangerous and honestly like threatening to the existence of our planet. For example, it's the same epistemology that's used in climate denial. They'll talk about how scientists can't explain X, Y, or Z, so therefore we can deny the entire thing. It's used by anti-vaccine people. By, instead of the big archaeology is hiding the truth, it's big pharma. In election denial, too many irregularities to explain what's going on. So you take complex evidence, then claim it's impossible to explain with conventional understanding, proposed alternative that serves an ideological function. Because at the end of the day, I think that the biggest thing that I try to put across is that conspiracy theories at their core are what we get when somebody's politics and reality are no longer synced. When politics is inconvenient, when your politics and reality are inconvenient with each other, you create conspiracy theories and pseudo history, pseudo archaeology, or pseudoscience to contort reality to fit your ideology again. It was true of Flat Earth. It was true of QAnon. It's true of like climate denial and everything. So figure out, if you're going to accept, if you accepted their alternative explanation, what's getting erased. So
that's a good tool to walk away with. Yeah.
So,
think about what gets erased.
Yeah. So when people kind of confront you, you could say, well, what would actually satisfy you? What's an answer that could actually satisfy you? Go through those kind of questions and, point them to my awesome Patreon article. And
let's go.
Yeah.
I used to have a cha-ching sound effect, but I don't anymore.
So and support the people who are doing stuff, like archaeology, communications, indigenous scholars, museum repatriation efforts for decolonization.
Yes.
And just realize that it's not just incorrect, this stuff is political. I think when we did the Pumapunku episode a long time ago, we talked about how it played a large part in the politics of countries about the indigenous people and everything. So remember, and also notice that when people say something is impossible, that they're using absence of evidence as a claim. There's a dismissal of all of the work that went into it. If there's a mystery, there are people who are working to address it. Look it up. Find out what people are saying, and and figure out what's being appropriated and made invisible. And so, at the end of the day, this isn't about aliens versus smart ancient people. It's about whether we acknowledge that human beings who built Sacsayhuamán are and the systems that mobilize them. Their achievement is real. The human cost is real, and ancient aliens erased both of them. And at the end of the day, we all choose the stories that we tell about the past. And those choices do have consequences.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
And
your other choices have consequences.
Your other choices are consequences. I don't know how to segue into this, because we're done. We're done with the show.
That was the end of my spiel. Yeah.
But I have just been on Julian Michael's YouTube channel, and 4 days ago he posted what I would consider to be the ultimate video for a channel like his, which is how to pronounce.
Nice. We got it.
We gotta know, right?
You are looking at Julian's pronunciation guide. Where
Julian,
I
love it.
He's
consistent. He's got a consistent brand.
Like this
so
other
good.
curious word, but how do you say what you're looking
He still
for
throws
today?
up the word croissant.
Let's learn how to pronounce those two words, the correct pronunciations. If you want to learn more vocabulary, more pronunciations in English, stay tuned.
Okay.
Top word is pronounce. Pronounce. It's a much more common word. It's generally what you use when you want to talk about pronunciation. Pronounce. Now, the bottom word does exist in
YouTube
English,
is a
but
beautiful
it's
place.
not really listed in most dictionaries.
That's so good.
It's
Wait, what
listed
did he
in
say?
most
Hold on.
dictionaries.
Hold on. What did he say? Hold on.
In English, but it's not.
Hold
now,
on.
the bottom word does exist.
The bottom word is
in
pronunciate.
English, but it's not really listed in most dictionaries.
Pronunciate is not listed in most dictionaries?
I don't know.
Pronunciate. Pronunciate is.
Oh, I'm clearly saying it wrong according to
So we need
I should be
Julian
saying
to
pronunciate.
We need Julian to make a video about how to pronounce "probs not aliens" on Blue Sky.
That's a great place to pronounce your
Yeah, send us all of your
love
best
for
pronouncements,
us.
or pronunciations, to Blue Sky.
To Blue Sky at Probs Not Aliens. We also do other things. Tristan, what else do you do on the internet? I know about your Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
What's that all about?
I'm depending upon when this episode comes out, which should be like January, February. I am, thanks to Mark Carney and austerity, I am going back into the content creation game, and so hopefully by now I have a video on my channel Step Back where I talk about the past and the present and how those two meet each other, and where I'm talking about, I have a video out on Hindu nationalism that you should really watch because I think it's going to be a big deal. At this point, I believe that Berkeley is going to get involved at a certain point. And I also write articles, and I'm going to try to start up a newsletter and stuff like that all through my Patreon. I think I might start a Substack or something. I don't know. I at this point, it's in the like, this has been my plan for like 4 days, so I have a lot of work to do between now and then. Now, Scott, if I wanted to know about the bizarre origin and history of Archie, from comics to Riverdale, where would I go to get that key information? It also says penis on the thumbnail.
Yeah, it's a reference to a story in there. One of the, I think, executives or someone walked into it was a lady walked into a room.
You're also wearing a bow tie in the video.
Yeah. The lady wanted to point out how everyone in command at Archie was a man and she was the only woman. So she ran into a room and just pointed at all the men saying penis, 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 penis. So that's why penis is on the thumbnail of that Archie video. That's my YouTube channel. It's called NerdSync. NERDSYNC. I make videos about comics and superheroes and cartoons and things like that. I've got so many. You remember like weeks ago or months ago when I told people if I don't have a video about Crypto the Superdog out by now to bully me on the internet? Well, I still don't have it out. And our episodes came out and people are bullying me about it. And I don't know what I should have expected, but I'm working on things, okay? I'm going to have a child soon.
Possibly by this episode comes out, the child is there in the world doing stuff.
The child might be around, and then I'll be on paternity leave. So you're not allowed to bully me anymore.
I'm a new parent. You can't bully me anymore.
You can find episodes early of this podcast and exclusive content by going to nebula.tv/probablynotaliens. Nebula is a streaming service. It's got a bunch of other cool stuff on there, not just us, but a bunch of other, literally hundreds and thousands of other like people and videos. It's a great place. Or if you want to support us directly, you can do so at our Patreon, patreon.com/probsnotaliens. It really helps us out. It helps pay for the editors, which is going to be extremely important as I have a child.
The number keeps going up on the recording.
And the number keeps going up on the recording. This is almost 2 hours of us recording.
Yeah, this is such a
and if you don't have the means right now, no worries. You can always support the show for free by leaving reviews and ratings of the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. Tell us when you write your review, tell us your favorite word that you like to pronounce.
Pronunciate.
I like the word crepuscular.
That's a pretty good one.
I think it's a good word. You can also tell your friends about the show. It helps us out. You can tell. Who else can they tell? Not just their friends.
Enemies.
They can tell enemies,
dentists.
Obviously. They can tell neighbors, dentists. Yeah, that's a great one.
If you have any Gen Alpha people in your life, that's who we're trying to get in on. Tell them
huge market
6, 7.
for us. Please tell them 6, 7. That would be huge. We're trying to both hit the Gen Alpha and the lonely male millennials and Gen Xers, please.
Yeah, if you have anybody
That's-
who needs,
that's our-
if you have anybody who wants to get into a workout routine where they move big rocks,
How many bits did we have in this one
It's too
episode
many.
alone?
Too
many. A great place to send people is probsnotaliens.com. It's a website that has links to everything that we talked about, all of our socials and places you can support us and find us and all that good stuff. Until next time, Tristan, this has been one of my favorite episodes we've
so
recorded.
good.
I think it's been a great episode. But until next time, my name is Scott Nicewander.
and I'm Tristan Johnson, and the truth is out there. 1, 2, 3, probably. Pilates. Pull.
Pilates. I didn't explain this part, but it'll go at the end now. But I figured, obviously you pull a lot, so
Yeah.
pull a lot, and then the T's, I assume is for tons, right? You pull a lot
Pull
of
a
tons.
lot of TNs. Yeah, pull a lot of T's. Yeah.
Pull out a ton. Pilates.
I think Pilates is gonna
I think
catch on.
That makes sense. I think it's gonna catch on.